All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and our guest tonight is Ryan Gable, our returning guest. I should throw in. We've had Ryan Gable on the show before, and we're happy to have you on again. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm very happy to be back. Looking forward to what you want to talk about today.
Yeah, where are you at in the country?
I am in New York, and it's
okay.
Unfortunate. I'm not really a big fan of New York.
Well, at least you're getting all of our smoke.
Yeah, I'm going to get out of here as soon as I can, though, so not for too much longer.
Yeah, New York seems to be a love it or hate it sort of situations. Okay, so let's hop right into this. You know, we only have the amount of time that we have, and there's a lot to talk about, and you always have some in-depth answers. So we're going to address some of the recent topics that you've been discussing on your shows and appearances. And the first one that came up, of course, you got some catchy titles for your stuff. Wizards of Cause, Sherlock, Stockholm Syndrome, World Effect, and Great Reset. What are we talking about here? Magicians may or may not be controlling the world?
Yeah, so when I do a show, I try to come up with a clever show topic. At least I think it's clever. Yeah. And I make a promotional picture, and I post that on social media and get that message out there, what the show is going to be about. So a lot of the times the show names are just clever, but I try to relate the clever show title to whatever the topic matter is. Wizards of Cause, I kind of related to magicians, and it's, kind of a tip of the hat to the Wizards of Oz and the man behind the curtain. But that a lot of the things that we experience in our world, and I try to take things that are topical and relate them to things that aren't so topical. And when people are talking about disease and getting sick and whether they're for or against vaccines, I try to look at things from a different perspective. And I try to look at things like, let's say, heart disease or cancer or diabetes or iatrogenic disease, which are basically doctor causes of disease or sickness or death. I look at those things and I ask people questions like, you're really worried about getting sick from a virus, but you do know that for the most part, diet is the primary reason that people are sick. That virtually, depending on the type of disease, between 40 and 80% of the diseases that we have, heart disease, cancer, et cetera, are not only reversible, they're totally preventable in the first place with diet, exercise. And I don't mean like an actual diet from like South Beach or something like that, but just eating a cleaner diet, not eating so much processed foods and things like that. So I like to present people with a different view on topical matters, and I call that show the Wizards of Cause, because the people that tell us in places of authority that we need to be aware, or we need to be worried, or we need to be afraid of a disease, are also the ones that in their own documentation tell us that if we just walked 20 minutes a week, and if we were able to eat a few more plants every day, and if we were able to reduce our drinking and our smoking and our stress and then our anxiety, it says on the CDC's website, we could cut out 40 to 80% of heart disease, which would take billions and billions of dollars out of the medical system. We'd be able to remove over 40% of cancer cases. Diabetes could be reversed. Diabetes could be prevented. So a lot of the things that are caused within our society, stresses and worry, a lot of death and disease, are actually not things that happen by chance. They happen as a result of negligence, as a result of people that choose to profiteer and omit information. It's not necessarily some grand conspiracy, but it is a magical kind of a thing. And there are people that are operating behind the curtain that would choose for you not to know that information because it would affect their bottom line, or it would affect, an ideology. Some people just have a belief, and it's not even that they're profiting financially from it, but it would be devastating to the ego to change their viewpoint on the world. So I like to look at it maybe in a philosophical way. And I know I looked at that show and I talked about something I called it Sherlock Stockholm Syndrome, because I think a lot of people are suffering from a number of psychological illnesses, whether it's Stockholm Syndrome, where we identify with our captors, or it's something like hysteria. I think a lot of the general public has succumbed to hysteria, or what psychologists call social contagion. And these are both political contagions. They're contagions of illness. They're contagions of a variety of different things. They also call them psychic contagions, where, like I'll give you an example. Back in the 90s, I think it was in Hong Kong, in the city, they had never really had cases of anorexia, but they reported one case in the mid 1990s of a girl who was anorexic, and suddenly there was an explosion of cases. And that might have been because at the time it really wasn't reported on, so people didn't know what it was or how to classify it. But it also caused a lot of people who weren't actually sick to be diagnosed with something that they didn't have. And other people began to believe that they were anorexic, et cetera, et cetera. And so they call that a social contagion. It kind of spread out of control. And it really wasn't that anybody was sick, but people believed they were sick. So it kind of created this situation where it looked as if there was some kind of horrible, problem with society, but it was all just a psychological issue. So I like to look at everything from that point of view. And I don't really like to assert a particular belief. And I believe that symbols and I believe that archetypes are very powerful. And I know that you guys are probably aware. Obviously, there are people that understand the power of archetypes and symbols, and they utilize them in media, they utilize them in politics, they utilize them in your average marketing campaign to coerce or to manipulate or to convince people to buy things or to, accept an idea that they might not otherwise believe or accept if they had all the information. So that's kind of what that show topic and what that information was about.
I'm very much in the middle of all these things that you just said, because, here we are in coronavirus, and my wife currently has it. She's quarantined upstairs, and here I am separate. We're both vaccinated, but I am that person that you're talking about. Here I am vaping because I quit smoking. I'm overweight. I have all high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I have all the warning things that people say. And so I am painfully aware that my previous life choices have put me in a much more dangerous situation here. And I like your term Sherlock's Stockholm syndrome, because I always think of the dance of Saint Vitus. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, I've heard of it before. I don't think I could explain it probably as best as you could for bringing it up, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's some medieval situation that supposedly happened where a bunch of people in a town started dancing and they just couldn't stop, and it spread like a plague.